Hello there, Fitness Edge family and friends. I want to thank you for joining me today for this little Fat Loss Made Simple presentation today. Now, I'm not saying fat loss made easy because fat loss is never easy. It is the simplest concept, but it's the hardest thing to actually achieve, right? Because there are so many influences in our life that affect how much fat we lose, or even if we lose fat, from family obligations, work obligations, and family and work stress. How many times you're able to get to the gym, how focused you are on your nutrition. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you getting enough water? What are your macronutrients like? What are your micronutrients like, right? So while the concept that I'm going to go through today is simple, understand I agree that it is a very hard thing to accomplish. That's why we have people like myself and the other amazing trainers here at the Fitness Edge to lead you and guide you through this simple yet difficult process. Let me start with the basics of fat loss, okay? So understand that everything that we do nutrition-wise is going to start with your BMR, or your basal metabolic rate. I hope you can see that. You might have to like squint into your TV, but basal metabolic rate, that is the amount of calories you need to stay you, okay, on a daily basis. So in the example that I'm going to use is a 200-pound person, and I don't care if you're a 200-pound man or 200-pound woman or 200-pound child, it's all basically the same, okay? So you have a 200-pound person, you have a basal metabolic rate of about 3,000 calories. That means if you want to stay 200 pounds, regardless of your body fat, regardless of your gender and age, around 3,000 calories, and I'll get into why I say around, is what you need to eat every day to stay 200 pounds, okay? As we go on, I'm going to talk about these other things, the EAT. That's exercise activity thermogenesis, okay? So that's the amount of energy you expend during your exercise, and whether that exercise is weight training, long steady state cardio, like jogging outside, going for a long walk, walking on the treadmill or at the stepper in your basement, any of those things. That's your exercise activity, thermogenesis. The NEAT, N-E-A-T, is your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So those are the calories you burn by just doing your daily activity. You know, you already do a daily walk. You go to work, you garden, you do laundry, or you do vacuuming around the house, playing with your kids. All that stuff is non-exercise activity thermogenesis because it's stuff you just normally do, right? So we don't count that as your exercise activity. And that's going to be really important here in a little bit. And then your TEF, the thermic effect of food, okay? So basal metabolic rate, EAT, NEAT, and TEF are what I'm going to talk about today that's going to guide you into your fat loss, okay? So remember these. I'm going to erase them and we'll come back to them a little bit later, okay? But I am going to start with the BMR, basal metabolic rate. So as I said at the beginning here, just 45 seconds ago, basal metabolic rate is how many calories you need to stay you, okay? And if I'm going by that model of 200 pounds, okay, an easy way to find that, that your BMR is to multiply by 15, okay? So it's pretty straightforward. If you have 200 pounds times 15, which this is the simple way to find out how many calories you need a day, you're going to equal 3,000 calories just to stay you, okay? And the reason I say that that's a simple and the roundabout way is the more information that I or any other trainer or nutritionist out there needs or can have, the more we can get you closer to your BMR, because your limiting factor in fat loss is going to be knowing your BMR as precise as possible, right? So if all I know is your weight, I can get a roundabout number of 3,000, okay? But if I know your body fat, if I know your NEAT, and if I know your EAT, then I can get closer to what your optimal BMR is. Now again, everyone is a little bit different, right? And our ages are a little bit different. So at 24, I certainly burned a whole lot more calories at rest just because I was blessed with a fast metabolism as a kid, right? Bouncing off the walls, always moving. 24 years old, I was always jumping on anything. If there was something, 9 feet high or taller, I was jumping to try and grab it. So that's just me moving and working and just trying to be me, right? So now at 43, my BMR is a little bit slower just because with age, metabolism starts to slow down. I do, but maybe someone else doesn't have as much muscle that they're carrying at 43 as they did when they were 24. So BMR changes a little bit with age. It changes a lot with activity level. So you have to understand that when we say 3,000 calories, or as my example is going to go further, it's different for everyone. But let's say I know your body fat is 15%, and I know your non-exercise activity, so your job is 5 days a week manual labor or 5 days a week sitting at a desk. And with that, you're also doing 3 to 4 days of exercise, whether it be weight training, cardio, what have you. I can get closer to a number. So the number I'm going to use today is a 15% body fat person at an exercise quotient of 1.55. So that means they're have a minor activity during the day. Okay, so maybe they sit at their desk and they get up and they move around a lot, or they're not a construction worker, they're not a landscaper, they're not a personal trainer who's always walking around picking up weights. And they exercise 3 to 4 days a week. That gives me an energy quotient of 1.55. So when I do the math, I can get even closer to 200 pounds at 15% body fat is going to equal 3,150 calories per day. Okay? That's important. 150 calorie difference is important, right? If we can ingest 150 calories more a day, are we going to be a little bit happier, right? So that's another apple a day, or that's, a small 3 by 3 inch, or 2 by 2 inch brownie, or another couple pieces of bread, depending on the type of bread you're eating. That's a significant number, 3,150. It also changes how many calories I can eat to lose weight, right? So 3,000 calories minus 20% is minus 600 calories, puts me at 2,400 calories a day, but 3,150 minus 20% is, 600 and some more calories. So I'm going to be about 2,500 calories. So again, that 100 calorie difference is significant in the fact that we get to eat a little bit more, or we don't have to burn as many calories when we're doing cardio and things like that. So it all goes on your BMR, your basal metabolic rate. Okay. So let's assume that we get you, and this is what I do with all my clients. The first thing I do is when I set them up on a nutrition plan, I try and get them to their BMR for about 2 weeks, because most of us, because if we're not tracking, we don't know, are either eating too few of calories, and believe it or not, most people are eating too few of calories per day. Okay, so when you're not eating enough, and significantly, drastically not enough, then our body starts to shut down a little bit. But I don't want to get too complicated with this. If you're eating way over, I want to try and get those calories down a little bit, not a whole lot at the beginning. I want to try and get them down a little bit so that I'm burning, or I'm getting as close to my calculated BMR as I can possibly get. And so once I do that 2-week BMR reset, then hopefully our exercise curve is going to look like a teeter-totter, right? So the only thing I've changed is getting the right calories, right? Cals. And my exercise and EAT is all the same. So we're just going to call that thermogenesis, right? thermogen, right? So if I'm eating 3,100 calories a day, and I'm exercising the same 3 to 4 days a week as I normally do, and my NEAT hasn't changed at all, I'm going to be at an equilibrium point, and I'm going to be set, right? So 3,000 calories, I stay 200, all right? And understand, when I do a nutrition plan for someone, I do it slow. I do it methodical, I do it calculated, and I do it correct, right? The faster you lose weight, the faster you put it back on. So if we can do it over a slow, sustained amount of time, we're going to be more likely to keep 90% of that off in the long run, right? So we take 6 months or we take 1 year to lose the amount of weight that we need to. The chances are keeping that weight off for the rest of our life are pretty good, unless we have a catastrophic event in our life, okay? So the first thing I want to do when losing weight, or specifically losing fat, is I want to change this teeter-totter so that I'm burning more calories than I'm ingesting. So you've done 2 weeks of 3,150 calories. You're feeling good, your body's digesting, and it's going to take a while for that to happen. That's why I do it for 2 weeks. But now your metabolism is running well and you're here. So what's the first thing we can do to increase our caloric output? Because it's all about calories in and calories out, right? What's the first thing we can do to increase the caloric output? We increase our NEAT, right? Our non-exercise activity thermogenesis, right? So if I can take my NEAT and make it higher, but burn or ingest the same amount of calories, that means I'm going to be burning more calories than taking in. So now my teeter-totter is going to be like this. I'm sorry. We're going to go like this. So calories burn is higher, weight is going to come down, right? So ways to increase my non-exercise activity thermogenesis. The easiest thing to do, right? And we've talked about this before. I'm sure I'm not the first person to say this to you. Park further away from the office, or park further away from the gym, or park further away from your kid's school, or park further away from the grocery store, or wherever it is you normally go on a daily basis. Try and pick the furthest place you can park away from, right? Because the more steps we take, the more calories we burn, the higher our NEAT is going to be, right? So take the stairs at work. Do walking meetings. I had one client, I said, just change one thing for 30 days. One thing. And that one thing is all of your meetings at work, instead of taking them at your desk or taking them at a conference table, as long as people don't need to be writing stuff down, if it was a talking meeting, you just need your iPad or something, walk around the halls, okay? Walk down the hall, walk up the stairs, walk down the hall, walk down the stairs. I don't care if it's a big rectangle, you're doing that for 4 hours a day. You're increasing your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, and therefore you're going to burn more calories. And you know what? In 1 month, not changing her diet, not changing the amount of time she came and worked out with me, not adding cardio and things like that, all she did was did her walking meetings, and she lost 10 pounds, okay? And of course, there's going to be a certain amount of NEAT that we can increase, right? We can't park 2 miles away from work and still make it on time. We can't take 8 hours a day and walk around the office, right? There's only so much time we can do that. So when that starts to change, or when that starts to level out, right? So we've increased the burn. What goes up has to come down. It starts to level out again. We change something else, okay? I want to keep calories as high as I can while I'm on a fat loss program, because the more calories I can eat while still losing weight and losing fat means we don't have to crash ourselves down into the 1,800, 700 calorie diets that I've seen people on, 700 calorie diet, right? We want to start high and stay as high as we can. So if I can still be at 3,000 calories, I've increased my NEAT, so I've lost, 4, 5, 10 pounds even in that one instance. Now what do? I work out 4 days a week on a boot camp style, or full body training, or spinning, or whatever it is I can do. I want to increase my exercise activity thermogenesis. That's the next thing I do. So if I'm already working 3 days or 4 days a week, I work out 5 days. I work out 6 days. We shouldn't work out 7 days. We need 1 day of rest. But we slowly increase that. And maybe it's just increasing the frequency on 1 day. So you only have, because we have kids, we have spouses, we have responsibilities, we can't get to the gym 7 days a week or 6 days a week. So we can increase our exercise activity per day. So let's say we do a 5:30 a.m. cardio session and then a 6 p.m. Weight training session. So the only thing you change is adding one more during that day. We all have a little bit of time. And by increasing your exercise, I'm talking increasing it 16 to 30 minutes, right? You don't have to do an hour-long weight training session. You don't have to do a 2-hour cardio session. High intensity, just get more active, do intervals, anything like that. You can burn another 300 calories doing, kettlebell swing intervals for 16 to 20 minutes, rope swings for 16 to 20 minutes, spinning bike 16 to 20 minutes, jog on the treadmill for 30 minutes. You can burn an extra 300 calories a day just by increasing that exercise activity 1 time a week. And then if we need to, we can exercise it 2 more times a week, burning 600 more calories a day. So we increase our exercise activity and then we increase our caloric burn. So now again, we're gonna burn more, we're gonna lose more, right? So we haven't changed your diet. All we've done is added non-exercise activity, thermogenesis, and exercise activity, thermogenesis. So here we are, we're 2 months and 2 weeks into our fat loss plan, and we're down 5 to 12 pounds. And you may not think that 5 to 12 pounds over 2 months is very much, but think about it over the course of a year, okay? If we can lose 50 pounds, 1 pound a week for a whole year, 50 pounds is pretty significant. If you're very heavy, believe me, it's not gonna be hard to lose 2 pounds a week for 1 year. That's 100 pounds, 104 pounds, let's get technical, right? So remember, it's about the long haul and how we can keep our calories as high as we can. So we're still eating 3,000 calories a day. We're only exercising 1 or 2 more days a week. We've increased our non-exercise activity and we've lost 10 to 12 pounds. Now let's go easy, and instead of counting calories, counting macros, going on a specific diet plan, for the 3rd month, let's increase the thermogenesis of food, right? Thermic effect of food. I don't know if I had that on there. I think I did. Thermic effect of food. Thermic effect of food is how your body processes and digests the food that you're eating, okay? So the reason high protein diets got so popular so fast is because proteins burn more calories just in digestion than carbs and fat. Protein burns about 30% more calories in your body, right? Just to digest and process and assimilate it. Where carbohydrates burn about 6% of your energy and fats only burn 2% of your energy. So if all you do is increase your protein intake, so if we're gonna stay at 3,000 calories, we're gonna increase something, we're gonna decrease another thing. So let's decrease carbohydrates a little bit, let's decrease fats a little bit, and let's increase proteins a little bit. We're still at 3,000 calories, but because protein is harder and more energy consumption and gives more energy consumption and burning, you're gonna burn a few more calories. Now, a few more calories, we're talking, 150 to 200 more calories a day, but still that's significant. That's a caloric loss. And it's all about calories in versus calories out. Now we're losing fat a little bit more. So if we just spend 2 weeks increasing our proteins, decreasing our carbs and fats a little bit without recording, without counting, without diagramming, we're gonna lose a little bit more weight. Maybe it's only a half a pound, maybe it's a whole pound over 2 weeks, but that's still significant in our year-long weight loss. Then, after we've really gotten to the habit of increasing our NEAT, we've gotten to the habit of increasing our EAT, our exercise activity thermogenesis, and maybe we've even fallen in love with it, and we now go 5 days a week, or we now even go 6 days a week, right? We're enjoying it. We're making it a family affair. The kids are coming with you. The spouse is coming with you. You're enjoying it as a family time. Now we can start. We've done 3 months of all this stuff. Now we can start tracking our macros and decreasing our total calories. So on the high end, we only want to decrease 20 to 25% of your total calories. That's where you come to someone like me who can give you the right numbers in order to get the results. Because if you just decrease by 500, you just decrease by 1,000, but you're not putting your macronutrients in the proper spots, then you're going to miss out a little bit on it and not get to our goal as fast, right? So the last thing we want to do after 2 to 3 months of changing all these other things is then finally get on a diet plan, reduce calories, know how many macros you're eating, carbs, proteins, and fats, increasing your micronutrients, your vitamins, your minerals, your essential aminos, non-essential aminos, or well, they're all essential aminos, things like that. And we can get even closer to our goal a little bit faster. Point is, it doesn't have to be complicated, right? It can be simple, and the more simplistic we make things, the easier it can become. The slower we go through the process, the easier it'll be to make the changes you want and stick with it for life, okay? I hope you got something out of this. I hope simplifying it helped you. I hope you took a little bit of what NEAT is, what EAT is, what thermogenesis process of food and all that stuff is. And if you want more help with it, if you want me to really get in depth with it, let me know. I can do another video, or you can come see me and we can start to take care of your needs, okay? Thanks for joining me. Sorry it was a long video, but I hope it was very informative for you and you get something out of it. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.